Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another reaction video. And we're going to react to Bought 7 Rental Units and Now I Regret It. Here's Why by Pablo Ottenwalder Jr. And this was posted 13 days ago, got 87,000 views. So it's been hitting up the rounds in the YouTubes. So, even before I watch this video, I'm going to warn you about apartments that I honestly think that it's probably better, and this is just my opinion, to be a single family landlord before you go into multifamily, right? Um, Deal with one tenant first before you deal with multiple tenants, because this is what I heard originally, that if you go into multifamily first, and you have one bad tenant, then that tenant's behavior kind of spreads like a virus to the other tenants. But if you have a single family home and you have one bad tenant, then that bad tenant is contained in that single family house. That's what I learned when I first originally learned landlording. But let's go ahead and get started and see what's up.
All the books, all the podcasts, they all say real estate will make you rich. All you have to do is buy it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they all talk about buying real estate and passive income. So what I do, I bought a building. And now I'm going broke. I thought this was gonna be my big win. I thought I was gonna finally get passive income and I was gonna be able to have some sort of freedom. But to be honest, I experienced the opposite. My phone doesn't stop ringing because of leaks, plumbing that doesn't work, trash is overfilled at the property, landscaping needs to get done, electrical issues, just like a whole bunch of things that happened. In this video,
So one thing I want to comment on is that you have to buy it right, right? And I'm wondering what area that building is in, because if you buy it in the wrong place, you might negative cash flow, but if you sell it in a couple of years, you might gain an insane amount of appreciation. So for example, certain areas like LA, New York, right? Or New York City, if you have an apartment there, my understanding is you're going to cash flow negative in those areas, but once you sell it, you're going to have so much appreciation that the negative cash flow might be worth it. So I'd have to first ask him what area this guy's in or he invested in. Did he invest in a cash flow market or an equity market? This is why you just can't buy any old property in any old state, because different markets have different attributes that for real estate investors. So it's you have to ask, what kind of benefit are you trying to gain? And the two main benefits of rental real estate are is either equity or cash flow. And usually if you gain equity, you don't have cash flow. And if you have cash flow, usually you don't gain equity. Like they're like an inverse of each other, right?
I'll be breaking down exactly what happened, why I'm losing money, and the lessons I learned the hard way so you don't have to make the same mistakes. This is the breakdown. A business partner of mine found the property. He said that he wanted to partner up on it. We just had to go and negotiate with the sellers. So we met with the sellers, we negotiated the deal. We got it under contract for $555,000. This is my first investment property. So I was super excited. It's a 7 unit. It's one building and a 2 family in the back. The building consists of 2 commercial units.
That definitely looks like it needs renovation. And I would never buy a property like that for 550 whatever thousand. And again, it depends on the market, so I don't know what market this person's in. Hopefully he didn't buy in like New York or something or California. But if it's if it has a mix of like residential and commercial, which it looks like it is, um I feel like I've seen properties like that in like Philadelphia presented to me a long time ago, or like Pennsylvania. But let's keep going.
And then 3 residential units on the top floor, and then the 2 family in the back. So a total of seven.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, definitely, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, um, it needs a lot of work. And looks like this is a church. Is this a church? What is this? I see music, maybe a church band, church worship center. I don't know.
7 units. Property was currently making $4,600 a month, and I figured all the rents were super low. The guy hasn't raised the rents in years.
Right, and that's the other thing too is the 1% rule. So I don't know if you ever heard of the 1% rule. So basically it means that if you buy a property, so let's say it's $500,000 and you're able to make $5,000 of rent, that's a deal with considering. So he basically bought at 550 and he's only getting about 4,000 something in rent. That's no bueno. And here's the other thing too. Here's I want to show you something. My Airbnb makes about 3 to 5 grand a month. okay? And I bought the property, um, for where is it? Let me go back here, go up there. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah, I bought it for $200,000. So when I compare this to what, his deal, and again, I'm just kind of talking a surface level. Oh, he bought it for 500,000. He's only making 4 grand, but I bought a single family for 200,000. I'm making about 4 to 5 grand. I feel like, oh, I kind of feel sorry for him. You know what I mean? Like I like, and you have to deal with 7 tenants or whatever tenants number of tenants he has to deal with. I believe it's 7, right? So I'm kind of like, ooh, I would never do that just from surface level information. 500,000 for about $4,000 of income. No thanks. What you want is 200,000 purchase price for $5,000 of income. Okay? That would right? Even if you, and this is why it's the most important thing is to buy it at the right price. If you buy at the right price, even if you screw up, $1,000 here, $1,000 there, um you have what you call, I guess, leeway, right? You have oops, the oops factor, like you have room to make mistakes. But if you're buying 500,000 and you're like, well, it has a potential to be better, that's not, no. If it has the potential to be better, then you need a discount because you're taking on the previous owner's um whatchamacallit, like, you're basically taking on the previous owner's challenge because you need to spend money to make the property better, right? If the rent isn't at the quote market rate. In order to get the market rate, you have to really improve the property because market rate is usually when you get a new tenant, what are they willing to pay for? Market rate, a lot of times, especially if you hold real estate, you don't really apply it to current tenants because it doesn't fit into their budget when they first applied to the property. Hopefully that makes sense.
So I figured I could raise the rents to at least 8 to 9,000. But if I put all the rents at market rate and I fill the 2 vacancies, I should have been at $10,190 per month if everything worked out well. But currently, the property was making $4,625. So recently, I raised all the rents 50 bucks, 5 tenants, so that's $250, and now it's making 4,875. All right, so here's the story. I thought it would be a great deal, but reality is different. So let's run the numbers.
Water stains here, so it seems like you might need to do some roof work or ceiling work,
So far, I've spent $16,419.56 on just repairs. So
which is not really that bad if the potential market rate is 10 grand. Like I would spend that all day every day. So let's see what's up.
2 units had to be turned over. We turned over the first one. It came out to about 10 grand, and then the rest of that, the 6,000, is just repairs that keep coming up: leaks, electrical, landscaping, and someone needed a new stove. So all these things add up.
So if the property hasn't been renovated in quite some time, then you're going to have to factor that into your budget. But there's no way that you can get a property to market rent if there's severe issues with the problem. And the reason why it's probably so cheap is because there's probably issues with the property, and the current tenants are willing to just they're willing to live with that.
So far, I'm into it for $16,419.56.
Which is not bad. Like, I guess if you've, done repairs, it's like, oh, that's kind of on the cheap side considering that it needs repairs.
It currently makes $4,875. Expenses are $6,646.76. Basically, I'm
Ooh, he's like negative cash flowing by negative $2,000.
losing $1,771.76 every single month. My plan for this building was to fix the 2 units, rent them out, fix a couple other units, do like regular upgrades and updates, and then raise all the rents. Then the value of the building would be $700,000. Then I could refinance, take my
So I guess, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to figure out how he figured the value of the home to be what it is, because if you know how multifamily buildings are valued, they're they're valued by something called the cap rate, right? Which is the net operating income divided by the purchase price, right? And so if he did the calculation correctly, and put in the formula, figured out what the cap rate is at the area because there's something called the market cap rate versus the individual cap rate. And then you take that $4,000 of income, multiply it by 12, and then divide it by, and then, or actually, you could figure out what the ideal purchase price would be, right? I'm wondering if he did all the calculations or he just kind of pulled numbers out of his butt.
Original money out and the property was still cash flow, and then I'll go ahead and buy another property. So it's the burst strategy. The reality is this is a lot harder than I thought. Maintaining this property is a lot harder than I thought, and dealing with 5 different families is actually tough. And it's something that, I wasn't prepared for. But this is my first investment property, and maybe I bought something too big and it's just too much responsibility. I do have a property manager that takes care of like the day-to-day, but it's still nonstop.
You know, okay. So here's the other thing too, is that I would actually, this is my opinion, try to manage the property yourself so you know what the property manager goes through so that you can kind of figure out, is it worth it to have a property manager or not? I think a lot of people buy into the passive income mantra and say, "Oh, I just need a property manager; they'll take care of it," without realizing that you need a quality property manager. And if you just hire someone without like kind of understanding what they bring to the table, they might be ripping you off, right? Which is why, like, I managed my little one property, and I realized, oh, I don't need a property manager. I could just do this myself and work 1 day a week because property managers, sometimes they take 1 month's worth of rent or they take 10% off, and it's like, okay, well, if $200 of cash flow a month is quote good, let's imagine that you add a property manager on top of that, and then that'll probably go to zero, right?
There's always an issue, there's always something going on. But the upside is that once I do raise all the rents, the cap rate on is 18.5%, which is actually really good, even if I refinance and take the cash out. So the problem, I'm leaking money on this thing every single day.
So this is why you have huge lines of credit, right? So imagine if you had like $1 million, well, not maybe not for this deal, I don't know, $300,000 line of credit, then it would be easy to handle these expenses, right? Do velocity banking. Even if you're negative cash flowing, the negative cash flow should only occur when you're renovating the units, right? Like it's okay to negative cash flow if you're building up, getting the property at a discount, renovating, and then putting it at market rate because you'll have a huge equity upside.
And until I rent both of those units, I'm basically losing $3,000 per month, $3,195 per month if I don't rent those other 2 units. I have one right now for rent, and I have a commercial unit that I was trying to get creative and have someone go ahead and rent it at a lower rent so they could fix the problems and do like a 1 or 2 year, well, maybe 2 or 3 year lease, so it makes sense for them and they can fix it slowly. They have a place to run their business, and then the property gets fixed up. But I got a couple people, but they weren't really qualified, so I had to keep looking. But I think now the only way I rent that unit is if I go ahead and fix it. And I already got several quotes to fix that unit, and it's going to be roughly $10,000.
Usually, when you have commercial, this is my understanding, you could put everything on the tenant. But it seems like if he's saying that the tenants are no good, then it's probably not a good area to do commercial activity, in my opinion. I mean, just looking at what he showed is like, ugh. And again, this is just my opinion based on what I've seen, right? Like I probably wouldn't, invest that money in there. But I've seen contracts, commercial leasing contracts, where it's like you have to put like 20 grand of a deposit for a lease, and then you got to pay like triple net lease, pay everything, and so all the costs are kind of passed on to the tenant. So that's why commercial real estate, in my opinion, is pretty sweet. But I'm not a commercial landlord, so I don't know if they're what the challenges are. But I've seen that like in those types of leases where everything is passed to the tenant. So um, I'm wondering why he couldn't find a tenant to kind of front that money if it's just not a good area for that.
So it's $10,000 more into that unit, plus the money I already spent, plus the money every single month. So the conclusion is this cost a lot more money than I expected, and I should have budgeted a lot better. The other problem is I'm currently doing 3 other flips. So maintaining these 3 flips with this building is a lot harder than it seems, because cash flow, I need to make more money. So the answer to all this is to make more money. The lesson in all this is more expensive than you think. You're gonna get phone calls randomly at night, any day, Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter. People will call you because they're having trouble, and you're the one that's supposed to fix it because
Well, why isn't the property manager dealing with it? Like, that's the whole point of a property manager, so you don't get the phone calls. You wanna know something? I had talked to one of my friends, and, I said, "Hey, you wanna take real estate investing courses with me?" And my friend was like, "Why would I do that?" And then that person bought a my friend bought a triplex, okay? And then said, "I hate this. Like, I hate all my tenants." I was like, "What are you doing? Why not take the courses with me?" And my friend thought, "I'm too good for this." And my tenant, whether it's like Airbnb or long-term rental, um, never really bothers me. Maybe like a text message once in a while, but that's about it. So like I feel like I have a completely different experience with rental real estate compared to most people. And this is why I push education, folks. A lot of people think they're too good for it. Don't be too good for it.
you own the property. The one thing I'll do differently is have more reserves, so I'm not really stressing about all these issues, or when the contractor calls me that we
Or you could have huge lines of credit like I do, right? Use the bank's money. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. So just get all the lines of credit before you bought the investment property.
need to fix the roof because there's another leak. There's already been two leaks on these roofs, on the main building and then on the two family. So we have to fix those. So what I would do differently, I would have reserves to do the deal, and then I would have the entire rehab budget put to the side, so that way I'm not stressed about coming out of pocket all the time to fix the property because I already have the budget for it, and then I could just worry about just the regular stuff. I already have a deficit of $1,771 per month. I'm against the clock right now trying to make this happen. The way I plan to recover from this whole situation is I'm gonna raise the rents on all the units. I'm gonna fix them up, raise the rents on all the units, rent the two vacant units, and then I'm gonna raise the cash flow to $10,000. And then once the cash flow is up to $10,000, I'm gonna bring it to a bank. I'm gonna get it appraised. They should appraise at $700,000. I'm gonna do a cash out refinance, pull out like 30 grand out of it. Then it's gonna be stabilized, and then it's gonna make money every single month versus losing money every single month. And that's kind of my plan on that.
But anytime you put renovations, you're gonna negative cash flow. So I don't understand what his deal is. Like maybe I'm just confused, right? Like so this is how I think of like any sort of renovation is that you could just do if you're getting at least some income in, you could just do velocity banking with negative cash flow and you'll still be able to float your expenses. It won't be a big deal, right? Well, and he has three flips going on, so he should have never done this with the three flips going on. You know, you don't want to because a flip is a very capital intensive project, so you're probably going to spend like 30 to 40 grand fixing up a house. And not only that, you have the loans for those flips. I'm assuming you got hard money loans for those.
Or plan B is to go ahead, sell the building or sell my half, because I do have a business partner on it, sell my half of the equity of the building to him or to anyone else, and then just let them deal with it. And then I focus on my three flips. Now, I know if I sell this property, I will regret it because I know for a fact 10 years from now, this same building is going to be worth $1 million. The rents are going to increase.
You know, there's a saying that the deal of the decade comes once a week. So you just assume that deals are infinite and then you just pass, right? Like, not a big deal if it's not the right time.
And then I'm going to regret it. But reality is I need to maintain and I need to live. I got to pay bills. I got to survive. And three flips is hard enough. Three flips is hard enough. My main thing now is, do I focus on the three flips, try to get all my equity back so I'm not so tight financially, or push forward, work harder, and try to figure out, or even if I got to get a job, I'll get a job just to maintain, because I know once I refinance this building, it'll pay for itself and I can stop bleeding money. So trying to figure that out as I go. And like I said, I'm just documenting everything. But this is how buying investment properties make me go broke. And then the real numbers that I'm dealing with, and then the real numbers you'll deal with once you buy these properties, because it's just not as easy as, all right, I'm gonna buy this property and then boom, I'm rich. I'll be fine. I'm gonna have passive income. I'm gonna have generational wealth. That's all nonsense. Now this building, even after It's fully rented, it's stabilized, everything is good. If two people don't pay rent that month, then I'm back in the red. So it's making me really think, like, how bad do I want to be a landlord? Because I know a lot of people that survive just off this, but they have 100 units, 200 units. So
If you know how the apartment game works, this is what I've heard, that striving for $50 a month in cash flow per unit is pretty good. So that's why people who own apartments, they have to own like more than like 100 or 200 to survive off of that income. So hold on, let's go to the end.
that's what I'm dealing with. On to the next one.
All right, let's see some of the comments. Respect for posting the ugly, not just the good. A lot of people don't understand the landlord business model. Becoming a landlord isn't about generating high income, it's about building equity. You purchase property, use tenants to pay off the mortgage. Real estate is a long term investment strategy because the wealth comes later once the mortgage is paid off. Until then, most landlords clear only a few $100s of profit per month. And if there's no major repairs or delinquent tenants, that's why it's best to start small than grow. Also, there's different types of rich. You could be cash poor, but equity loaded. All right. Well, that's it. I mean, I guess we could do a little bit more analysis, but I'm a little bit lazy. But the moral of the story, always assume that when you buy rental real estate that nobody's going to pay you, and if that's like the worst case scenario. And if nobody pays you, like let's say none of your tenants pay you, and you'll be fine, that's the right time to go, right? And you always want to buy it at a discount. So when I hear something like, "Oh, um, I bought the property for $500,000 and I'm only getting $4,000 of income." I'm like, what's going on here? No, 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 no. What you want is you want to buy it for 210 to 250, and then you want to generate, $4 to $5,000 of income, right? That's what you want. You don't want the other way around. Okay. The other way around is going to make you broke. Like, okay. Not to make fun of him. I also wonder what market he's in, right? So uh, I actually looked him up, and he's a real estate agent too, and he was working in Massachusetts. So I wonder if the property was in Massachusetts, um, because Massachusetts is an equity market. It's not a cash flow market, kind of like New York or California. So if you buy a multifamily building in Massachusetts, okay, multifamily building in Massachusetts, you're probably not going to get cash flow. But I don't know where the building is, right? So I don't know what market he's in, but that's something I like to figure out. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. This is Crayland to Mentorship reacting to I bought 7 rental units and now I regret it. Here's why.